If you've got a budget of about $150 or 100,000 Naira and you're in need of a smartphone with a big battery, no ads, and decent storage capacity, then take a look at the Umidigi A13 Pro. And shout out to Umidigi for making this available for me. Let's start off with what you get in the very yellow box. Right on top, you get the device itself with the TPU case pre-installed. Beneath that, you get a sleeve with some paperwork and the SIM ejector tool. Right after that, you get the charging brick. But given its small size, this is more like a charging pebble than a brick. And you also get a red and black USB-A to USB-C cable. Now let's get right to the device itself. Taking a look at the display, you can tell immediately that you get what you pay for. It's got a resolution of 1650 by 720p, meaning it is far from the sharpest display out there. It also doesn't get very bright, and you may struggle to see it under direct sunlight, despite it being an IPS display and not OLED. And that in itself indicates that the color reproduction on this device is also not great. You've got a small teardrop camera notch and moderately sized bezels all round. The refresh rate is 60 Hz, which makes scrolling appear a bit stuttery if you've used a 90 or 120 Hz display before. But for less than $150, if you're expecting any more than that, then wake up to reality.
Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world.
This device is made of glass on the front, plastic on the sides, which are surprisingly flat, and allegedly metal on the back. I say allegedly because it feels a lot more like plastic than metal, but it's to be expected from a device at this price point. On the right side, you have the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint scanner and the volume rocker. And on the left side, you have the side key, which is set to take screenshots by default, but can be remapped to any other app. One weird thing is if you turn the side key off or remap it, you won't be able to take screenshots using the power and volume down button, which is very interesting. Strange. Still on the left side, you have the SIM card slot, which can either take 2 nano SIM cards or 1 nano SIM and a micro SD card. And at the bottom, you've got the mic and a single speaker grill with a USB-C port between the both of them. And at the very top, you've got the 3.5mm port and another mic. Returning to the back for a second, you get to see this beautiful blue gradient finish on the model I have here. The metal or plastic finish means it's very shadow resistant for you butterfingers out there, but it's prone to scratching. You also have the text embossed there saying Beyond Dreams. It weighs about 255 grams, making it a bit of a chunky boy, but it is definitely not uncomfortable to hold in my opinion. The display is 6.7 inches, meaning operating this device with one hand is gonna be almost impossible for those with tiny fingers. Not like I can relate. We've also got the camera bump on the top left corner, and it is very reminiscent of the camera arrangement on the iPhone 12. You get a 48 megapixel f1.8 main shooter, and 8 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide lens, and a 5 megapixel f2.4 macro lens. And I'll say this in the nicest way possible. All three of these cameras are not ideal for anything other than adding aesthetics to the device. You're not getting good pictures out of this camera arrangement. Don't get me wrong. If cameras aren't a priority to you, I think these cameras are serviceable, but you're gonna need a lot of patience, lights, and very steady hands because there's a bit of shutter lag as well. The 16 megapixel selfie camera on the front isn't any better. Here, you can take a look for yourself. So if you're a social media person, this camera system isn't going to be satisfactory for your stories, reels, TikToks, or whatever you young people do nowadays. The Umidigi A13 Pro can also record videos at 1080p on the rear camera and 720p on the front camera, both at 30 frames per second. And I don't think you're going to be too pleased with the outcome, but I'll let you decide by yourself. So this is the video and audio quality you can expect to get from the Umidigi A13 Pro selfie camera. Now, I'm not really a big fan, even despite the price point, and bear in mind that the lighting in this environment is actually really good, as there's a big softbox right on top of me. So you can expect even worse than this when your lighting is not great. But let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And if you're still watching at this point, then you are a star. Leave a comment with a star emoji to let me know you got this far in the video. When it comes to the performance, then day-to-day activities should be fine, but just for short periods of time. Because if you plan on using this device for long gaming or TikTok sessions, then you better get some gloves, because this phone is on fire. The device has a tendency to become really hot with prolonged use, unfortunately, and I think that can be attributed to optimization issues. Bear in mind, this might not be the case that you have, it really just depends on how heavily you use your device. The Unisoc Tiger T610 CPU fails to regulate thermals efficiently, and while the device doesn't suffer from stutters or lags during normal activities and light gaming, you notice it heat up quite quickly once you get a bit more extreme. The Mali G62 GPU helps out with the game performance, but like I said earlier, you won't be doing much intense gaming because of the heat. Sorry to say you won't be enjoying your Call of Duty Mobile or Apex Legends gaming sessions on this device. But in contrast to the heat, one thing that is pretty cool, get it? Cool? Never mind. One thing that is pretty cool about this device is the 5150 mAh battery, which is pretty big for a device of this price point. I mean, a lot of flagships don't even have 5000 mAh of battery capacity, and this device comfortably pushes them aside. It doesn't have fast charging, however, taking about 2 hours to go from around 10% to 100%. And just because it's really big doesn't mean it performs well.
That's what she said.
While you should still be able to get a day's worth of use comfortably with this device on a light to medium workload, the poor optimization of the chipset allows it to drain unnecessarily at times. If you're using it to consume content on Netflix, on YouTube, you should be fine, but somehow, someway, it might just keep leaking and leaking. That's what stop it. Anyway, I don't think you will enjoy streaming any content on this device because aside from the relatively poor display, the speaker quality is also quite atrocious. And to quote the great Meadow unboxing, it sounds like you're going deaf in one ear. The single downward firing speaker is really tinny and lacks volume. It is easy to accidentally cover up with your hand, and even when you don't cover it up, noises from other devices such as a TV or even people talking around you can prevent you from hearing what is coming out of the speaker. My version of this device comes with 4GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage, but there's also a 6GB version in case that is something you're interested in and you would like to leave multiple apps open in the background. It's running Android 11 and is practically bloat free, and the icons are very similar to the stock Google icons as well. But it depends on your preferred aesthetic. You can easily install a third-party launcher and some icon packs if you don't like what comes with this device. The fingerprint scanner is very responsive, which is nice to see, and you barely have to touch it before the device unlocks and you have access to your phone. Would I recommend the Umidigi A13 Pro? Well, it's a bit of a hard sell, to be honest. It's got good battery life and a decent build quality, but the cameras and the speakers are just not up to standard, and I feel you'd be able to get a better value device from a brand like Xiaomi. I think the Umidigi A13 Pro might be suitable for an elderly parent or a grandparent for making their calls and chatting with their kids and grandkids on WhatsApp. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think about the Umidigi A13 Pro in the comment section right below the like button. And if you're in the market for a tablet, then you can check out my video on how I use the Tab S6 Lite as a medical student, or a playlist of some of my other videos. And before you go, subscribe to the channel.